Hey everyone, this is Mr. Hugo. This video is going to be an introduction to some organic nomenclature. We're just going to start with some very simple alkanes with a few side groups. This list on the right of the screen are the very basic prefixes that we use in organic chemistry to let us know how many carbons we have in a row. So we're just going to start out by drawing some simple alkanes. When I talk about simple, I'm going to talk about really simple. So the most basic organic compound that we can draw would be this one right here. We have a single carbon surrounded by 4 hydrogens. When we look at our list over here on the right, where we're looking at our number of carbons, we're going to use the prefix meth and single bonded carbons get the ending ane. So we've got the prefix meth, suffix ane. If I just add a carbon, and what you'll notice real quickly is I'm going to start ignoring that hydrogens are even there. They're just inferred. They're inferred that the hydrogens are there. I'm not going to draw all of those hydrogens. But here we have 2 carbons, so we look at our list to the right and we get the prefix of eth and the ending of ane, and so on down the road. When we get all the way down to number 8, what does that mean? I just have to draw 8 carbons. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be oct for 8. Ane, because all of those carbons have a single bond, also known as, when I draw just a single line between those carbons, that is the single bond in between those carbons, and that's where that ane ending comes from. Now, as we add side groups, we'll see that we'll bump into a few rules that we need to follow when naming these organic compounds. So I'm just going to start drawing something here. We got a carbon, a carbon, a carbon, and a carbon. And off of this longest continuous chain, I have added another carbon. So this is considered a side group. Now, to name this, in organic naming, we tend to start with what we call the last name. So the last name is this foundation of this skeleton, or that backbone of that molecule. So as we see that that's 4 carbons, so it gets the prefix but. They are all singly bonded, so that is a butane. Now we have to say that, well, off of this butane, we have another single carbon that is coming off of a carbon. Now, when we have side groups come on, we have to number the carbons to tell the person that maybe is trying to draw this structure where to draw that side group off of. And the rule for that is that the side group has to come off the lowest number carbon possible, which is why in this example, I would start by numbering this carbon as carbon number 1. Now I'm going to name that side group. That side group is got 1 carbon, so it gets the prefix of meth, just like all the other numbering prefixes. The difference now is that gets the ending YL, which indicates that it is a side group. Now we're going to number where that is, so this is how we accomplish that. We would say we have a 2 dash methyl butane. All right, let's add another rule. What if we have a carbon chain that has more than 1 side group, but they happen to be the same side group in this example? We still begin by writing the last name. So we have 5 carbons here in our main chain, which makes it a pent. And again, they're all singly bonded, so that's a pentane. Now we're going to number our carbons again, where we need that first side group to come off as early as possible. So that makes that carbon number 1, and that's going to be in a carbon number 5. So what we have now is off of the 2 carbon and the 3 carbon, there are 2. So now we put that prefix of di in front of the name of the group, which is still methyl. So now here's what I'm saying. Off the second carbon and off the third carbon, there are 2 methyl groups that are linked off of a pentane. All right, let's draw another scenario, and therefore we're going to end up bumping into another new rule. So I'm going to draw and we're going to put a C down here, and we're going to put another carbon group there. Carbon group there, and a carbon group there. So let's look at this scenario where let's just start like where I was going to start by just naming the last name first. So we're going to name the longest continuous carbon chain, which is going to be a heptane. If I look at this carbon chain there, that is 7 carbons long, so it's a heptane this time. Now we have 2 different types of side groups. We've got the one that we've covered so far, which is that methyl group. We happen to have 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. We also have a new group here with 2 carbons. So you may have guessed that all we have to do is just change that prefix to indicate the fact that there are now 2 carbons on this side group. So that side group gets the name of ethyl. Now when we write this name down, in terms of what we write first, E, the ethyl group, is before the M of the methyl group in the alphabet, so that is what we write down first. We still give numbering precedence here to this carbon group, which makes that carbon 1, and that is carbon 7. So I could just kind of fill in these numbers just to keep a good visual. So we're going to start by telling within our name where the ethyl group is. So we'll say 4. Ethyl. Notice how far away I'm starting from the backbone of heptane, because I got to have room to write all this stuff down. So now I'm going to say, all right, well, what else do we have? Well, off of the 2 and the 3 and the 5, there are 3. So now we get the prefix of tri. 3 what? 3 methyl groups. 4 ethyl, 2, 3, 5 trimethyl heptane. So I did want to show you one where I'll give you the name first and try to write down or draw the structure based on this name. I tend to think that this is easier to do if given the name to then draw the structure, but you may think differently than that. So pause the video if you'd like and try this out. All right, with everything else, we're going to always start, even when drawing, we're going to start with the last name. So that last name tells me to draw 5 carbons as my skeleton or as my backbone. Then I'm going to just number my carbons. I'm just going to call this carbon right here carbon number 1. I don't have to actually draw the number 1 on there. I'm just telling in my head that one is carbon number 1. So this is a new scenario that we have not seen in this video yet, where I have the number 2 written twice and then a dimethylpentane. That just indicates that off of the second carbon, I have a methyl group up there, and I also have a methyl group right there. And then off of the third carbon, I have an ethyl group. So there you go. We have a pentane. Off of the third carbon, there is an ethyl group. Off of the second carbon, there are both of our methyl groups. Hope this helps.